us in Zimbabwe and see what we can talk about under this one. Number one, what has been Zimbabwe's problem generally? This now transcends the health sector. We haven't taken responsibility, like I said earlier. Why? Two things. One, the blame game. We have blamed everybody else for our situation, both in this sector and generally. We have blamed politicians, we have blamed history, we have blamed colonialism, we have blamed everything. But we are alive today. So what can we do? We are alive. Are we dead? No. We've lost about maybe 2 million Zimbabweans in the diaspora, is it? About 2 million? Isn't it? But the other 15 plus are still here. Who is the government in essence? If you think about it, all the leaders in government, from the president downwards, come from families. What I'd like to leave in Zimbabwe this week is the need, first and foremost, to stop blaming anybody for anything. In our sector, who's going to find our brothers and sisters living positively? It's us. So we won't blame funding. We won't blame lack of salaries being paid. I'll explain why. Until we change the posture of our mind and accept the challenge. Let me break it down. You were not born in Zimbabwe by mistake. Just in case you think, oh, I want to go to Australia. The Zimbabweans love Australia. I want to go to the US. I want to go blah, 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 blah. Who's going to bring the change in Zimbabwe? What you need is to accept the responsibility. The Zimbabwean sons and daughters must arise, irrespective of politics, fear, prejudice, all those elements. So the blame game must die today. Number two, under responsibility, excuses why we can't do something. A perfect excuse is a classic acceptance of failure. Africans have learned, have been to school now, and because of that, we are applying our knowledge to explain things away. Let's just do it. Let's just find our people and place everybody by 2020, no stigma like we had, and everybody is on treatment. How? Because we are alive. It's the first place. Most of the partners would like to see what are you doing with what you have. Which leads me to the second aspect of empathy. In our sector, all healthcare providers, really, if you think about it, are supposed to be called. You hear pastors talk about being called to the ministry. How can you serve in this sector without empathy? What has happened to our empathy? How is this one being discharged in our facilities? And so empathy is really the fact of saying Ubuntu. Do you know Ubuntu? You are because I am. So even in our families, how many of you in this difficult climate of the economy, how many people are you keeping at your home? We need to show this empathy. And this is just an addition to all of us. I think it's abnormal for an African professional right now, especially in Zimbabwe and Zambia, to only leave you, your spouse, and your biological children. And of course, empathy must lead us to compassion. Empathy sometimes can be passive. You feel pity, you sympathize. But compassion will make you fold your sleeves and say, the men, where are the men? I'm going to find the men. So compassion is an active force that will make you sacrifice your little salary. Let me share a few things, what we do. All my team leaders have about 33 business clinicians, manning community post, plus the HQ guys about 7, that's about 39, and plus the senior staff doctors and so on, about 40. If any community post is lacking anything, They will not wait for the bureaucracy to buy whatever is missing. They'll buy. Then if they want, then they'll come and claim afterwards. So we really need to own our practice at a personal level. Because God said, if you give to the poor, you are lending. You're lending to me. How do you give to the poor? Go and find an ignorant man living with HIV and link them to treatment. So God takes note. Because of that, funding, which you so desperate want from CDC, USAID, everywhere, will come because He controls the minds and hearts of everybody. In this sector, let's bring back integrity. You report correct numbers, truthful numbers. You come for a workshop, you travel, uplift the receipt. It starts in those small things. Integrity, you don't lose it in a bit. It's a process. But then if you begin to keep certain basic principles alive, that I would rather go hungry than steal. I'm going to ask my neighbor and throw away the shame of begging for me not to compromise my principles. So we need to bring back integrity in this sector. How? By loving our patients and our clients. And so this one, passion, is what can keep me awake at night thinking about the work and coming up with all these innovative designs. So do we really love our people? I'll quickly summarize by saying we don't love people enough, partly because we don't love ourselves enough. How? At love, your neighbors you love? How can you love your client neighbor if you don't love yourself? And so we need to be passionate about people. And lastly, ethics, again, adhering to all set standards. So the recipe can change our way. So what we do at Circle of Hope, every single day, which my colleagues will talk about, the staff reflect on one of these until these virtues become a part of us. So we are a blessed lot, all of us. And for the first time, we don't put money first. We put people first. This is what I wanted to spend time. That is a very important, these are core values which we must bring back in our sector.